we're kind of the front lines of people's financial questions, right?
Absolutely.
Because everyone has to do taxes.
Right.
So I get asked, how do I save on taxes? Obviously.
Big one.
How do I build wealth? That's where you come in. And then how do I leave a legacy?
I come in that one too.
Yeah.
I think having your financial team aligned is very important because, a lot of times I think people feel the burden of, well, my CPA told me to do this, my financial guy told me to do that, my attorney's telling me this thing, and it's like it's their responsibility to communicate amongst all those professionals, which one is really hard because they don't have the understanding.
Yeah.
It is impossible. They don't know what to do because it's not aligned. But if your whole team's on the same page and pointing you in a cohesive direction.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The tax code has loopholes on purpose, right? Created by politicians who want loopholes. So let's take advantage of those as well. Yeah. Well, first off, I would say.
All right, well, I'm super excited to have my guest and good friend Jordan Squires here with me. CPA, incredible tax planning strategist, just a really overall great friend. We're very aligned in a lot of ways, and we're going to talk some tax strategy today. And Jordan's got a really cool story, and Jordan and I have a cool story on how we met, just through a mutual friend, through Mark. And so, what we want to do today is we want to break down like who Jordan is and really like what he's doing to serve the community. His office is in Gilbert, Arizona, which is right by my office in Mesa. And, we help a lot of clients together, but we also, have some different philosophies and things that we bring to the table that are unique. And so we complement our work pretty well. But Jordan, how long have you been, in the CPA tax planning world?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you for doing this. I'm excited to.
Thanks for being here.
To kind of share, my story and what we do and what fuels my fire with when it comes to taxes, which doesn't sound like there would be a fire there. But
I know,
it does,
most people think tax is boring. They don't think
taxes can be exciting if you do them correctly and you do them with the right people. So, Danny, man, I love you so much.
Thanks,
You're such a good guy, and you've been so good to our clients. And
thank you. I feel the same way, brother.
Yeah. Well, so my story is. I grew up with my dad as an accountant. We actually co-own the firm, and I told myself I was not going to do accounting. He just always came home just beat, dead tired.
Yeah.
I was like, I do not want to do that. I'm gonna be in the NBA, right? That was my dream.
Nice.
Still waiting for the Suns to call me. So if you're listening, let me know.
Went undrafted again this year. Huh?
Every time, man. So I got to college. And probably like any college student, changed my major a few times and had some experiences in different jobs where I was like, hey, this financial stuff is pretty interesting. Let me look more into it. And then I kind of just weaseled my way into accounting and then ended up doing taxes and was working for a firm over in Tempe for a while and loved it. It was a great firm. If I wasn't doing this now, that's probably where I'd be because I really like those guys over there. My dad had met Mark Renberg.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad has a firm down in Sierra Vista, and they were looking to move back up to the valley. Anyway, so they ended up meeting, and he partnered with Mark, and my dad's telling me, hey, you got to meet this guy. He is awesome. The way he treats his clients is just amazing. So we sat down for lunch, and I fell in love. I have to work with this guy. I have to see how he does things, because it was different, right? He was not a typical CPA.
No.
Not a typical tax guy.
No, not at all.
He was aggressive. He loved his clients. Sorry, I'm gonna get emotional.
No, man. Mark was like almost like a second dad to me, dude. I love Mark too. So great man.
So I joined in July of 21. And again, I don't know how much we want to go into this, but he ended up getting diagnosed with cancer that October.
Yep.
And then by March, just that following March, he had passed away. And so I got to know him a little bit, obviously not as much as a lot of people, but man, that guy, I love that guy.
Yeah.
When he passed, it was a mix of emotions of, obviously I was sad. I was angry.
Yeah.
I was angry that guy passed because, one, he left us such a great firm, but there was so much more that could have been done with him still kind of at the helm there for a little bit, right, while we got to know everybody.
I know.
Anyway,
the timing of all that was just, it was just absolutely insane, It
was crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so Jolene, his wife, was working with us. And
Love Jolyn.
yeah, she's so sweet.
Yeah.
He,
And I can't think of a better group to like a duo like you and your dad take over. Like you guys were the perfect fit because
I hope so.
You definitely were because you honor Mark's legacy. You took care of all the clients like he would have.
Yeah.
You looked out for his family like he would have wanted. You took care of his relationships and you guys were the perfect. You guys were the integrity. Like had he partnered with the wrong person.
Thank you for saying that.
But you guys brought that integrity and you upheld everything. And you had to walk through your own season of challenges taking over that firm because it was a huge firm and there was a lot to do. And you guys handled it like champions, man. It was really cool to watch.
That means a lot. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
It was difficult because neither my dad and I really knew any of the clients. And then Mark was gone, and they're finding out when I'm sitting down across the table with them that Mark passed, right?
Right.
And of course, we send out emails and try to tell everyone beforehand. But
yeah, it's hard to communicate that information
gosh,
to so many clients. Some people prefer a phone call or an email or you write a letter. Yeah.
It was a lot of hard conversations and a lot of blows to the self-esteem for a little while. Which, and again, I understand. I'm not Mark, and
no one's Mark.
No one's Mark.
No one's Mark. Yeah. If you knew Mark, everybody fell in love with him, and he was just one of the most charismatic, kind, genuine people you could meet.
Yeah. And so, for the first year or two, we tried to do things exactly how Mark was doing it, not rock the boat too much, right? Mm-hmm. Try to show everyone, hey, we're not Mark, but we kind of learned his strategies and what he was doing, and we're going to keep going that way. And in the last year or two, this year especially, we're starting to change some things. Not really tax strategy, but just more like the operational side of things.
Yeah.
And so throughout the years, because of those changes, we've lost some clients. Mark did things a certain way, and we're doing them a little different now. But we've also, word of mouth. You've sent clients our way. A lot of our clients are sending other people our way, and it's just. Yeah.
You guys take care of people. That's what's important.
We try to. We definitely try to.
Look, it's tough when you manage a CPA practice, and I've never done it, but I gotta imagine there's such an intense volume in such a short period of time. It can be difficult to service everybody at the level you'd want to, and I think that's what was cool about Mark was he almost like didn't believe in time. He would literally just take any amount of time. Well, he worked all night.
Well, yeah. He's.
He would spend all of his time with clients during the day, and then he'd work all night and do it again, and he did it for months. And that's where I got to really build my relationship with him because I'm kind of a little bit of a night owl, and so I can't tell you how many times I've been at his desk at like 2 a.m. and we'd be talking and working. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's where we really bonded and formed our tight relationship. But yeah, you guys have done a phenomenal job of taking care of people. And what I love most about what I look for now in strategic partnerships is not necessarily obviously competence in your field is very important. Your experience is important, your reputation is important, all those things matter, but the number one thing I look for when I'm trying to form a strategic partnership is like what's their heart like? Are they really in it for serving people, or are they in it for their business? And again, it can be one and the same. Like the more you grow your business and you're service oriented, that can be a great thing because you can reach more people.
Yeah.
But there's definitely people that are more geared towards like what's in it for them versus what's in it for their clients. And the second I met you guys, I was like, these guys are the real deal. They care about the clients, which is what I care about. Right. And I can't align with anybody who's not in that boat for not even for 2 seconds. And so that's the most important thing to me is like, you guys look client first always.
Yeah, we really try to do that. And of course, you start a business to make money to take care of your family, right?
Of course, yeah. Everyone needs to make a living, but you can do it the right way.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And you guys do, which is awesome. So now you're running the practice. You guys own Renberg Squires, and it's a thriving practice in Gilbert. It's an amazing location. I've gotten a lot of great feedback from clients that we work together on. Tell me about the difference between someone who files your taxes and someone who actually wants to strategize with you. Like,
that's a great question. Yeah, so someone who files your taxes could be TurboTax, right?
Yeah.
Or H&R Block. And nothing against H&R Block and TurboTax. They have their purpose, and they do it well.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many. In fact, we have a mutual client who was using TurboTax.
Right,
and for one reason or another, it just got kind of messed up, and and we're fixing it, and it's going to be fine. But yeah, a tax strategist or a tax planner, advisor, whatever you want to call it, this is where we step into that. Hey, we care about you, right? We care about what's going on.
Right.
We care about your goals, your family situation.
Yeah.
And that goes beyond taxes. I think real tax strategy, and this is why I've loved having you in our corner, is getting people like you, again, with that integrity that I hope I even have half of, but that integrity that you have, that it's client first, and you've got all these strategies. I've had so many clients that we've sent your way that they just rant and rave about how they loved working with you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a privilege, man. It's like double for me because I want to honor Mark. I want to honor you guys. I want to take care of the client. It's like there's so many amazing things when I get to work with your clients, and it's special when we team up because we have different skills and we can do different things. So 100%. Tell me about, because a lot of my clients that have other CPAs, this is the most common complaint I have, is they just tell me, like, I'll ask them, I'll say, okay, what is your CPA's tax strategy for you? And they'll go, Daniel, I put my stuff together, I drop it off, they do it, I never talk to them, it's like there's like almost like no interaction. I know you do client meetings with people, so that's how you uncover ways to try to help, and that's when you bring me in and different options like that. But like, talk to me about some of your like favorite tax strategies, and I know that's a broad question, and it totally depends on the individual. But like, what's just some like low hanging fruit for the people that are frustrated out there who are like, I just feel like I'm not even close to optimizing my situation. And again, there's all that whole fear of the IRS. You don't want to step over a line. You don't want to do anything wrong.
Right.
But there's definitely proper ways you can just take advantage of things that are available to you if you know about them.
100%.
And what would be an example of like some of those that you've seen that have benefited your clients like in the last tax season?
Yeah, so the tax code has loopholes on purpose, right? Created by politicians who want loopholes. So let's take advantage of them as well. Yeah. Well, first off, I would say if you don't have a CPA or a tax guy, you're using TurboTax, something like that, at least maybe ask around. Find a CPA, someone that can at least just take a look.
Yeah.
Because there's penalties. For example, there's a rule that you have to pay taxes on the income as you earn it, right?
Right.
So that's why if you have a W-2 job, the employer will withhold the taxes for you with each paycheck, send it off to the IRS come tax time. It's already calculated into the tax return. Well, if you have other sources of income, that's not being paid as you go. And so just to strategize with the tax guy to say, hey, maybe let's do some quarterly payments, or maybe let's start a side hustle and figure out ways to lower this income, other things like that. If you can just have someone look at the tax return, the most common penalty I see is that underpayment penalty where you didn't pay enough in taxes.
Mm-hmm. And this applies to retirees as well.
Anyone.
Okay.
Absolutely anyone. It's
so an example that I've seen is like somebody's getting Social Security. They're like, oh, I don't pay tax. All of a sudden, they take a big taxable withdrawal from an IRA.
Right.
And then they're like, whoa, what the heck happened? Which can be surprising.
Right, which not only raises your income, but then it affects the Social Security, because the Social Security by itself isn't taxable.
Right.
But if you bring other income, then it's kind of tiered up into being taxed as high as 85%.
Which is crazy. So what's crazy is we do these workshops. We used to do them all the time. I haven't done one in a long time, but I still speak at them sometimes. And they're basically like Social Security, like education workshops. And I'll stand up in front of a room of people and I'll go, okay, if you receive Social Security income and no other income, do you pay income tax? And everybody looks at me like, I don't know. Like, do you? But it's like, that's so important for retirees to know. I think one of the coolest things that I do with people, and I know you do the same thing, is like when they're working, they're used to wages or business income.
Right.
And then when they retire, they're not sure how that preferential tax income works with Social Security, and they're often shocked at how much lower their taxes are in retirement because of the way that income's taxed and how tax favorable it can be if you structure it the right way.
Right.
So what are some ways people could be proactive to like protect that Social Security? Like what are things people can do, to basically make sure that their taxable income is what they want it to be in returement?
Leading towards retirement or in retirement?
Yeah.
Well, one, I would say meet with people like you who've got these great strategies and formulas and all this stuff to make sure maximizing those benefits. But as far as taxes, I mean, there's a lot you can do on a tax return to fund specific retirement accounts that, like a Roth, for example, right?
Right.
Down the road, it's not taxable. It's taxed as you put it in, but then the growth and everything on it's tax free. So what you're pulling out isn't taxable.
Yeah.
And if all you have that's taxable is the Social Security, then you're golden.
You're in a great spot. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's other things you can do. So I mentioned a side hustle.
Yeah, explore that with me because I think a lot of people are curious about that. Like, what would that look like?
3 questions I get a lot as a CPA because we're kind of the front lines of people's financial questions, right?
Absolutely.
Because everyone has to do taxes.
Right. So it's at least one guaranteed financial meeting that
Right.
they're having. If they're not
Exactly.
meeting with a banker, an advisor, an insurance professional, it's
Exactly,
like they
yeah.
see you guys, yeah. And then you get to field everything.
Right, exactly. Yeah, we get lots of questions.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? Let's talk to Daniel.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. So I get asked, how do I save on taxes? Obviously.
Big one.
How do I build wealth? That's where you come in. And then how do I leave a legacy? And that one.
I come in that one too.
Yeah,
by the way.
yes, you do. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to not include it. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's also
yeah.
huge, yeah.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
I'm still
yeah.
like, who's your legacy guy?
Go to Daniel, guys.
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah.
Who are you using for legacy?
Yeah. When I tell people, one of the best way to save on taxes is to start a side hustle or buy a rental property, right? Things like that. It's so counterintuitive because okay, I'm already working and now you want me to work more. That's a hard sell for people.
Yeah.
And then wait, I'm making more money. How is that going to help me on the
Right.
taxes, right?
It seems very counterintuitive. Like, how could making more money help me save on taxes?
Right, exactly. So maybe I kind of want to back up a sec. There's something. When I was going through college, I worked for this guy that taught me this. He calls it a trifecta. We've talked a little bit about this.
I like this.
And it's a really awesome way to strategize with clients. It's kind of in 3 parts. One part, the legacy part, is everything is owned by a trust of some kind, usually a revocable living trust. But again, I know you work with a trust lawyer. Everything flows to this trust or the 1040 tax return. And then on this side, part 2, you've got your operational income, which is, this is my W-2, this is my side hustle, or my full-on business that in which I'm an owner.
Mm-hmm.
This is how I pay bills, right? This is what I'm doing to pay bills. Part 3, the legacy part or the wealth building part is the retirement accounts, the rental properties, the passive income.
Are they held in that entity? Like, are obviously not retirement accounts, but like rental properties, would they be like LLCs on this side, or would they be in the revocable trust?
So that depends.
Okay,
Right. That
right.
depends on the situation.
Kind of asked you a loaded question.
Yeah. Well, no, and it's a good question. It's a fair
but I know
question.
people are thinking
Yeah,
that. Like, right, if you have the trust in the middle, what's the titling? What's the structure?
It's a fair question.
Yeah.
So probably almost all the time, especially for a rental property where maybe there's some high liability, right? Mm-hmm. You want an LLC to own that rental property, and then the trust would own the LLC.
Cool. Okay.
And then the trust would also maybe own some of these retirement accounts, would own your main home, your vehicles, everything, right?
Sure.
The point of the trust...
Be the beneficiary of the retirement accounts, own the home
exactly,
vehicle.
Yeah,
I got you, yeah.
The sole purpose of the trust is the legacy part, right? If something happens to me, I need these to go where I want them to go. My kids, my grandkids, whatever it might be.
Right. Avoid probate.
Exactly.
Go to where they're supposed to go, have that control, and make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that trifecta. And we've talked about, teaming up with that attorney and having the 3 of us come in. And that's the most exciting thing to me. And that's the best part about strategic partnerships, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times I've had a client come to me and go, hey, I'm about to sell a rental property. What is my tax going to be? And I go, that's not me. That's George, And then I'll call you and gosh, you and your dad have given me so many great, seller carry amortization tables and, breakdowns on anticipated sales and Roth conversion recommendations. So I think having your financial team aligned is very important because, a lot of times I think people feel the burden of, well, my CPA told me to do this. my financial guy told me to do that. My attorney's telling me this thing,
Yeah.
and it's like it's their responsibility to communicate amongst all those professionals. Which one is really hard because they
That's
don't have the
impossible,
understanding.
yeah.
They
That's
don't.
so
It is
hard.
impossible.
So hard.
And then they don't know what to do because it's not aligned. But if your whole team's on the same page and pointing you in a cohesive direction,
Oh my gosh, yeah. I can't tell you how excited I am about this.
Yeah, me too.
When you told me about the Ben,
yeah,
I was having a hard time sleeping. I'm like, man, this is gonna be so awesome.
it's amazing. Because the ultra wealthy have this concept called a family office.
Right.
Where they're bankers, they're CPAs, they're tax attorneys, they're estate planning attorneys, they're advisors, they're insurance people. They all meet, and they just run the family wealth on their behalf. It's
Yeah.
called a family office, but you need like 50 million in assets to even begin to get that
Some
kind of
money,
concept.
for sure.
And we've always talked about how cool it would be to offer a similar concept, with our all of our separate businesses, just around the client for like the everyday person.
Right.
Like how amazing, like who can provide that value?
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often.
No, and so that's what excites me most about
Yeah.
teaming up with you and Ben and putting this together. So I definitely see that as a great future for Nations First and for your business and
Yeah, I'm excited.
and anyone else that we have a lot of other great resources too that we
Yeah.
a lot of other great team members we work with, and I know the clients appreciate that. They love having that cohesiveness.
Yeah. No, I learned a long time ago that I don't need to know everything, but if I surround myself with smart, capable, integrous, is that a word?
Yeah, maybe.
Let's
We'll
go
use
with
it.
that,
Yeah,
yeah.
integrous. I like it.
Integrous
I
people.
don't think it is, but we'll take it. Yeah.
Sure. Hopefully, one who has integrity. Right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, if I surround myself with people like that, I mean, one, it not that I'm worried about looking better, but with a client, if I don't have the answer, I need to be able to give them something, right? I can't, I don't know, good luck.
Right.
That's
and
not gonna
so
work.
many people
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
I know so many guys in my space are like, "Oh, I don't do taxes." Go, sorry.
Yeah.
And they're like, "I'm just asking a simple question about how your retirement account works."
Yeah.
Like, we can't answer that. Like, what? And it's like, I don't do taxes.
I know.
Yeah, and again, it's because they coach you on that. That's like the big thing they coach you on when you go into like get any financial licenses. They're like, you don't do taxes, don't give tax
Okay.
advice. They like hammer it into you, and it's like, yeah, we're not giving tax advice, but I've always like argued you have to be able to answer basic questions for people. Like
Right.
if someone's like, well,
How's this gonna
hey, you're
affect-
telling me to take this
Yeah.
income from my IRA, how's that going to impact my Social Security?
Right.
I feel like I should be able to answer that, right? Not to say, oh, go talk to your CPA. Like,
Right.
that's again part of the problem.
Yeah.
But that's our industry. People don't really
Yeah.
care. So.
Well, yeah, no, I can't tell you. There was how many times I had a client a couple years ago that she had done something. She had come in for tax season. We were meeting, and we're going over. Okay, she has a few rentals, and they have a business where they build and sell homes, and they do really well. And they had met with a tax attorney. That, I mean, well intentioned, right? It was a good strategy, but it didn't align with what we were doing already. Mm-hmm. And so it totally messed them up. And I just felt so bad. And I was like, why didn't we have this conversation, right? But again, it goes back to it's impossible for the client to be the middleman in all of this. So
I think I interrupted you. Tell me about the side hustle being the best
yeah,
strategy,
thank you.
because a lot of people need to know that, and it could benefit so many
Yeah.
people if they understood what that meant.
So there's two reasons why a side hustle is, maybe three, but there's two main reasons why the side hustle or rental property, right? Because essentially the same thing, can save you on taxes. Probably the simplest way and the easiest to understand is that there's a world of your personal expenses, right? You're paying for your cell phone, your internet, your home, your car, gas, all these things.
Yeah.
Think of it as kind of a Venn diagram here. You got your personal expenses and then you got your business expenses. Well, when you have a side hustle, that opens up a whole world of deductions that you couldn't take just as a W-2.
Yeah.
And so the goal on a tax return is, okay, we want to report as little income as legally possible, right? And so there's ways to do that, fund your HSA, some retirement plans. But with a side hustle, now we can take that Venn diagram, right? These business and personal, they kind of cross over a little bit. We can take a portion of the cell phone, the internet, the mortgage interest, your real estate taxes, your utilities, pay your children.
Miles.
Yep. That's a big one for a lot of people.
Yep.
Paying your children, if they're under 17, they don't have to pay the Social Security Medicare. So that's earned income where there's no payroll taxes, that's a huge expense for anyone, right?
Yeah.
And now they can start funding a Roth or whatever it might be, right? And so
You see that strategy online a lot.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
pay your kids, Roth
Yeah.
IRA, make them tax-free millionaires.
it's huge. It's such
crazy.
an important strategy
Yeah.
that is so underused.
Yeah.
And probably the second thing, oh, I guess I should come back to that. And when you have your own business, then you can start putting in your own retirement plans that are set up how you want them to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's some strategy there again, that's where you come in, and
Yeah.
lots of cool stuff can happen
Yeah.
there. And the second one is depreciation, and that's a word that I think is kind of confusing for a lot of people because I think everyone's heard it, especially with taxes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyone that's done any kind of research on how do I save on taxes, they probably come across that word. But essentially, what it is you buy an asset, and because it loses value over time, the IRS code includes, okay, a rental property is probably the easiest example. You buy a rental for $500,000. You can take the value of that as an expense over time, right? And where that really comes into play is it's a pretty big expense that you get every single year that you own the rental. And a lot of my clients, what it does is it pushes that rental property. We report the income, we report all their expenses, their repairs, renting can be tricky, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have a bad renter, there's a lot of expenses.
Right. Yeah. Some people might hear that and go, "Well, it's going to cost me money
Right,
if
yeah.
I have a bad tenant."
But the depreciation oftentimes flips them into where on paper there's a loss, which for the taxes is great. That's
Right.
exactly what we want.
Right. Yeah, that's
we want
the value.
a loss on paper.
On paper, yeah.
And so what that does is and what a lot of people also don't, I find, tend not to understand is all of your income flows to that 1040 tax return, kind of how we were talking earlier, right? You got your operational and your passive. Well, it all flows to your personal taxes. And so if we can strategize and really leverage all these strategies to lower your income, especially on paper and not in actual real life, then we're golden.
Now, if you're W-2, can you bring, like if you have a regular rental, like a long-term rental, can you bring that income over? Does that help offset that?
What do you mean?
So if you have like a loss on paper from your rental, right, from depreciation, does it matter if it's like long-term rental, short-term rental? It can help lower income either way?
Yeah, it definitely lowers income.
And do you have to be, like I've heard, there's like the real estate professional designation, right, where there's people who, if you're more than 50% of your income comes from real estate, you can just depreciate the properties you buy.
Yeah, there's some rules there. I think 750 hours a year have to be spent on real estate, and I think it is more than half your time. I can't remember, but yeah. So the downside of the depreciation or a rental property is because it's passive income. Same if you were to sell stocks at a loss. Excuse me, you only get 3,000. I guess for rentals a little different. I can't remember what the amount is for that. It's capped, right? The loss. You can't just take the loss completely. It's capped at some point. But if you're a real estate professional and you can prove those requirements, then you get to take the whole thing. In fact, we had one guy this last year. We had prepared the tax return, got it to where we were looking it over with him, and I was just thinking, you have like 4 or 5 rentals. You have a W-2 job, but what would you say? Let's talk about this.
Yeah.
And so we found.
See, and that's the difference right there is the conversation. Let's talk about this and figure something out.
Well, it was awesome because he had that year bought a rental property, and so there was a huge loss. I mean, huge loss because there was no income coming in until the end of the year, but he had all these repairs to get it up to snuff, and so we realized, hey, you're spending way more than 750 hours a year. You're spending way more than half your time because his W-2 job, making a lot of money, it was kind of working itself, right?
A lot of people get to that place in a career where they're kind of just like, I'm comfortable. I got it on my terms, and they don't bug me, and I kind of skimp on hours, and I see that so much with people who work in a W-2 job for a long time. In some cases, it depends on the situation, but
no, it's true, and with this guy, that was the case, and it was a dream scenario as a tax guy because he owed. Oof, I maybe I shouldn't say numbers because I can't remember exactly, but
sure,
he owed north of 5,000. I think it was around 10,000 or so and then ended up getting a refund around 2000.
Holy cow.
And it was the first time he'd seen a refund in years.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing. It, like, as a tax guy, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is what I live for.
You're creating that's massive value. It's a
Yeah.
huge switch just by having a conversation with someone. It's a $12,000 savings.
100%.
You know, for a lot of people, that could be 10% of their income. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, and that's the thing I find is there's usually, and not always, I can't guarantee that, you know, if I look at your tax return, I'm going to find a savings. But
Yeah.
And not just me, any tax professional that is looking, right?
Yeah.
They can find something. Mm-hmm. Because, again, TurboTax serves its purpose, but they're not helping you find the strategies, right? They're just, it's plug and play. So.
Right. That's so cool, man. I love your vision, your passion, your drive, where your heart's at. It's great to work with you.
Same.
I'm glad we're doing this, man.
Appreciate
Let's keep it going. Thanks for coming in. Let's do this again.
Yeah.
Let's do like
anytime.
another one where we
Okay.
go into like different tax strategies, and we'll talk about other ideas and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. We didn't talk about the Augusta rule, the S corp. I mean, there's a lot more.
many.
There's a lot more.
So many. You know, it's crazy. I see this guy online. I'm not going to say his name because I know him, and he's a great guy. I love him, and he has great ideas. And I think he's one of the best at like communicating these really complex tax ideas in a very, very simple way, which is why he's so successful.
Yeah.
But it's so funny when I watch his ads. I'm literally just sitting there going, and he's going on paper like, oh, I saved him this much in depreciation, this much, and I'm thinking, like, it's such basic stuff.
Yeah.
But he's making a killing on it because so many people don't have this information. You know? And he's adding so much value.
Yeah,
it's not like he's
exactly.
not doing great work. He
Yeah.
is, but it's like, you know, you do that kind of work every day,
Yeah.
basically for free, you know? And it's like, you know, it's available. You just got to have the right professionals that can guide you through that.
Right. Yeah, and that's the goal. Yeah. No, I can't tell you. Thank you for having me and bringing me in here to
Yeah,
do
man,
this.
it's awesome.
This is
We'll do it again.
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, thanks so much for watching this video. If you want more information and different tax videos like this, check out this other video right here. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next one.